Listen, bub, if you ain't listening to distance nerding, then clearly you ain't made the cut.
Oh, hey, we're on the screen.
Previously on Examining 97.
Previously
Ladies and gentlemen.
on I was picking Team Black or Team Green.
Welcome to Examining 97, the second episode, because we covered the first two episodes in our first episode here, but we are now covering X-Men 97 episode 3 here on Distance Nerding, the breakdown. And we're excited here, guys. So everybody here has watched episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
What?
All right.
Sure.
And I'm sure we all have our thoughts on
What?
episode 3. What?
What?
So let's get right into this, guys. Episode 3, super epic, all kinds of craziness going on, condensing multiple storylines, kind of almost the way that it felt like it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And getting one major storyline out of this. So jumping right into this, guys, got to know your initial thoughts on the episode without elaborating too much on everything. So, Mr. Beardister.
Beardister.
Yes. Mr. Beardister, please give me your thoughts on the episode, sir.
I think is a good jumping point for where it left off the last episode, and it has the potential to grow into multiple storylines, as we discussed in our last episode of Examining 97. Just because we have a lot of stories, right? We get the introduction of one of my favorite villains of all time, quite honestly.
Easily one of my top 5 as far as Marvel villains in general.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on from there, Mr. Fourzze Summers, the man who would be Scott himself. Fourzze, what are your thoughts, man?
I think we had a phenomenal reintroduction to one of the greatest villains.
Yes.
And what a beautifully compressed Goblin Queen confrontation.
Yeah.
This episode, like the previous two, they're 10 out of 10. No arguments.
Amazing. And then, of course, Frey Pryor, the Goblin Queen herself. What are your thoughts on the episode?
Man, if I could make that work like Bowie did in Labyrinth, that would be amazing. But no, I thought it was really good. I liked it because obviously they couldn't do the whole thing because it went real dark. But I do like that they introduced Madeline. And she actually said her name by the end of the episode, but they left it open. They did really loosely base it on it, really super loosely. But she has an option to come back. I'm like, well, the more I look at it, the more I think, okay, so we're getting Cable. They're explaining Cable, and we're probably going to get Strife. Like, when he put him in the thing, he already had some of his DNA. So Sinister gonna make us a Strife, and I think that's kind of cool. But no, I mean, they seem to be just like Fourzze was saying last one. They seem to be fixing the mistakes that like going for the storylines that they couldn't go for when it was Fox Kids. And I liked it. Now, Madeline Pryor's costume was not comic accurate. She looked more like the Black Queen than she did the Goblin Queen, but I feel like they had to do that because technically it's still a kids show, so you don't really want to show off a lot of the stuff. I mean, her Goblin Queen outfit, it's like she jumps a little bit too high and those boobies falling out. So that is, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I totally understand. And I dug it. If I were totally into cosplay, I would be cosplaying this for Halloween or cosplaying it for, just a Saturday afternoon sitting on the couch. But I thought I liked it. I liked the changes they made. I like that Madeline didn't know, like she didn't know, and that they left it where, okay, when did he switch us? Who actually got the Phoenix Force? And you're like, and then just with that like little part of the conversation, I was like, holy shit, they just like opened all sorts of stuff. And those are my initial thoughts.
So, young Phil, coming from the future to save us with your techno-organic eyes, what are your thoughts?
You're not wrong. I do have techno-organic eyes. My thoughts were great. I mean, so I had mentioned and I made kind of the passing comment last week about, do we think that it's Cable or do we think that it's X-Men? I mean, I knew it was Cable, but I mean, like they went right into it. I mean, they explained into the technovirus, which basically is giving further explanation to a storyline that they did in the original series, which I thought was interesting.
I threw some grenades and they all
He's playing Apex. Sorry, he's on the breakdown thing of it, and
gotcha. No worries. So moving on. No, we got this massive storyline condensed into a 26-minute episode, and it still managed to make sense. So we get her transformation right off the bat from the very beginning. We get her transformation into for all intents and purposes Madeline Pryor. She becomes the Goblin Queen immediately as soon as Sinister makes himself aware, like his presence known, right? And for me, I knew it was Sinister as soon as I started hearing a voice through the baby monitor. I was like, it's got to be Sinister. That's the only person that's going to be talking to her through her head is going to be Sinister, right? So we see that pop up. He kidnaps the baby. He does that. Now the entire relationship between Jean and Madeline, even prior to the ending. See what I did there? Prior, to the ending, kind of the Jean getting in her head and them just kind of going after each other. Now, also one of my favorite lines in the entire episode is a throwaway line that it's a testament to Beast's resolve. But like where Madeline's messing with everybody's head and Beast is on the elevator and comes down and the elevator door opens and he goes, I think we're on the wrong floor. And like thing, right? Because he's so like composed and just like, still being super intelligent about everything. Whereas everybody's freaking out and he's like, oh, I think we're on the wrong floor.
He didn't even flinch.
Yeah, and then like the reaction of the thing was like, what? Like You're not scared? Kind of like it was that kind of like split second of
And that was 60s Beast.
Yes.
You couldn't phase him. He was
yeah.
60s and 70s Beast was like Spock.
Yeah.
He's like, this seems to be the wrong floor. Moving on.
Yeah, he was very like science. He
Yeah,
was science guy. He was
Right.
smart guy, science guy.
Which, I mean, they've done a lot of that with it. So again, like last week we talked about, and again, I'm just jumping right into the Easter eggs now, right? But like last week we talked about, okay, they're explaining away the time bracelet, right? And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
you know, why are they not talking about this? And it was exactly what I predicted. I said Beast is probably working on it. He probably found a way to get it off of him and is working on it to make it work. They in like a matter of they didn't even have to fully explain it. They just said we are finding a way to get Bishop back to his own time, which means that you can infer that they were able to get it off because it wasn't working and it wasn't keeping him in that time anymore. So Beast was fixing it to get him back, which is what we got at the end of the episode, right?
Yeah.
And he makes a very passing reference to Forge because he talks about when we get back to my time, there's only one person I know that can fix this. And you know that's Forge. There's nobody else talking about. You know he's talking about Forge, which 5 seconds later we see Forge. So it's like
I know. And you know who he looked like? Pedro Pascal.
Kind of. He looks exactly like Forge did in the cartoons in the 90s.
No, I know. But I'm just saying he looks just like Pedro Pascal. I'm saying I want Pedro Pascal to play Forge. But
it's not going to happen. He's playing Mr. Fantastic.
It can happen. I know he won't. But see, Diego Luna's not tall enough.
Is Diego Luna
we'll
the right person to play Forge? I thought Forge is Native American.
He is Native American.
I
would prefer, especially now that you're getting people who are, you know, racially correct, for a lack of a better expression. I would rather have a tall Native actor play Forge.
Yeah. And there are a lot of good ones out there. Yeah. I just like as soon as like when I was like getting all excited about Forge, I was like, oh, Pedro Pascal has to play him. And then husband was like, he is not the right ethnicity. No,
yeah,
like,
fine. Especially with like Forge being a very non-typecast character, right? Like, you know, Forge, what I love about Forge as a character is he happens to be Native American, but it's not his identity the way that they write other characters. So like you think like Thunderbird, you think like War Chief, like you think of these characters, and they tend to like lean into I'm Native American and I am 100% Native. Even to an extent, Echo is to an extent a character that kind of almost leans on her Native heritage. I like that with Forge. It's more the way that they've played it is like you don't know that he's Native unless you know that he's Native. He looks like he could be Hispanic, you know, but he's Native American, and it's just his heritage does not dictate the character, and that's kind of something that I like. I feel like that's good character writing when you don't have to have the character lean on their heritage, that just happens to be a part of who they are.
Yeah, and I feel like the comic, like X-Men Comics, has done a really good job with having diversity just in their membership, like in the X-verse, and so but it wasn't like like Kitty Pryde. She wasn't like, well, I'm Jewish and a mutant. She's Kitty Pryde. She just happens to be Jewish. Like so, it's like there are a lot of diversity, and it. I like that they're keeping that. They're not like, look, we're doing this. So yeah, I do like that. But I just want Pedro Pascal to play all of the people that I love. So that's why I want him to be Forge.
Now, the other thing being that was staying on the line of Bishop, the mention of Shard, like right off the bat, like, just I want to go back to my time and find my sister. And it's like, they're mentioning Shard. So it's like, we're going to be getting so much more in that timeline.
Yeah. There's a lot that you can get from that timeline too. It's not like a one and done type thing. which is why Bishop was so popular. Like
Mhm.
he, and I like him. He's cool. No, really, I like him. He's cool.
Oh.
It sounded really like threatening, didn't it? I'm
It-
sorry.
It's fine. I was waiting for anybody else who had comments before I moved on.
Well, I want, if we're talking about Bishop, I want to give Four Summers and everyone else's opinion too of when he says, "Hit me, Cyclops." Do you feel that Bishop is more powerful because of Cyclops' blast, or does Cyclops have been the better person to do the blast?
Well, I mean, they're a good team up just because Bishop's entire power is being able to absorb kinetic energy and redirect it, which is kind of what the Summers family does. Like almost all three of Starjammer's kids basically have a version of that power.
But would have Cyclops been better off doing the optic blast himself instead of charging up Bishop?
No.
I was gonna say the only thing I have a problem with now on that is that they've explained in the comics that it's not technically kinetic, and it's a void that he's basically tapping into.
Yes.
So that's the only thing that I'm against. Where if anybody goes and says, "Well, it's still a kinetic blast," it's technically not kinetic energy.
But in '97, it was.
Well, I mean. In the explanation wise, but now comic canon, it's he's pulling energy from a void. So
We need to observe the practicality of the situation, and that is Cyclops at the moment would have been able to fire one direction, whereas as Bishop was letting loose, he was spinning, turning, using both hands, firing on multiple enemies. He was clearly the better choice for attack at that moment in time. Him and Cyclops' team up was beautifully orchestrated. And to further that fact, many of the X-Men's villains at this point in time are not aware of Bishop or his powers, but they are aware of Scott, Jean, Logan, Jubilee, everybody else. So for him to fire on Bishop, that creates confusion for the enemy, number one. And then number two, you get a unidirectional multi-blast coming from Bishop and you don't know what this guy's powers is, you're boned. And that's exactly what those demons were. They were boned because Bishop did not hold back.
Yeah. Especially with the way Bishop presents himself, like he runs around with a gun and you don't imagine that this dude can redirect kinetic energy the way that he does. Right? Like you would imagine that he's just, maybe he's just like some kind of super soldier, almost the way that everybody kind of,
he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah, but I mean, like the way that everybody looks at Cable and kind of like discounts Cable, not realizing that the dude is really using all of his energy to hold back the virus, because if he didn't have the virus, he would be the most powerful mutant in existence.
I mean, and he's still pretty powerful.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, hence X-Man. X-Man is supposed to be him at his full potential, right? So it's like, yeah.
But, more whiny and emo.
100%.
All right. Should we get into these Easter eggs?
I haven't said my thing yet. So let me say it real quick.
Yes.
So my thing is, I thought it was really cool. I like that they're letting Cyclops not just be, I'm going to do the blast. Like he's, like they're letting him do other things with it. It's not just, I'm blasting you. I'm blasting you. Like he moved himself. He made sure that he didn't like smoosh into the earth. Like, I mean, they're letting him do other things. And I like that because Cyclops is more than just his optic blast. He does have a mind behind it. So I like that he's using it in different ways. And it was really cool, like Gambit doing in the last couple episodes with Wolverine and powering up his claws. So I just thought that I just think that's neat, that the innovation of how they're letting them use their powers and making it more team ups. Like, we had the team up with Wolverine and Gambit. We have a team up with Bishop and Cyclops. And so I like that. I like that that's They're making it more teamy. It's not, oh, well, so and so got, down. Now let's let Storm do something. Oh, now let's let, Rogue do something. It's like, no, we're going to tag team up. We're going to use that.
It's like they've been a team for a number of years.
Right? And they actually know what they're doing. So, yeah, I do like that.
Do this wimpy teamwork garbage of yours after all.
Let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about the opening. So I kind of called this last week saying that I think that every episode is going to have a different opening. Either that's going to explain things that are going to happen, or just kind of furthering the plot without doing it in the story. And we kind of got a little bit of that, right? Like, so 3 major Easter eggs that I picked up in the new opening. First, we'll start off with so we basically get Jubilee's credit scene, but with Roberto with Sunspot.
Yeah. Oh, are we supposed to talk about that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did. We got. Do you want me to go first? I liked it. I did. I think he's a good addition to the team, no matter how much they use him, because it's nice to have somebody else that's younger and that, and Jubilee isn't so whiny now. So I can say that, that's good. Like, she seems like she's kind of got it together a little bit. And so I liked it. And I like him. I like the way they're playing him. He's got a lot. He's flawed. And, the best X-Men are flawed.
Right.
So,
Fourzze, what are your thoughts?
It's very simple. I think there's a lot of symbolism with putting him at the fence because, in the original, Jubilee was running for that fence, and Jubilee joined the team at the time of her life when she was starting to really experience mutant persecution. So I think it's very symbolic to have Roberto running for the fence at a time where, now that he's exposing his powers, he will also be facing mutant persecution like he's never faced before, and there's going to be a fear that comes out of him, much like there was Jubilee, and he's going to have to adapt. So having him do the fence scene, that speaks volumes, because he was, how did you say it, a juicy teenager in the last episode. Well, now here comes the transformation. Now I'm a mutant, and I have accepted the fact that nobody is supporting me but this new family, and I'm on my own.
Yeah. And we see a little bit of the emergence later on. Like, he's kind of letting his powers go a little bit, but you're also seeing why he holds his powers back. Like, his parents very much persecute him. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Beaterster, what is your
like I said, I think this is as we said last time, I think Jubilee is leaning into becoming a full-fledged X-Men. She got off the trainee, piece that Deadpool had in Deadpool 2 when he was the X-Men trainee. She shed that. Now she is becoming an actual X-Men, which we need to see for her character growth and everything like that. And I've been saying this for a long time, and you guys know that I think the Sokovia Accords will be applied to mutants when they come, and it'll become the Mutant Registration Act, hands down. It's going to be an offshoot of the Sokovia Accords, and
we're going to get this. We're probably going to get a melding of Civil War. We're probably going to get a Civil War 2 movie, but it's probably going to be a melding of like the scenes from Civil War 1 that we didn't get in the original Civil War movie, and then probably do a little bit of Civil War 2. Just because you have to further the plot. So
I think it'll be X-Men v Avengers.
Oh,
nice.
That'll be the Civil Wars, X-Men versus Avengers.
Or Thunderbolts.
Because we're gonna have people born with powers versus people that were made with powers.
Right.
Not the first Thunderbolts movie, though.
No. So moving on to the next part here, we get a very clear-cut scene of Professor Xavier and Lilandra in space. So again, the way that they're playing it is that Xavier's dead. We all know. We all infer, because at the end of the series, Lilandra takes him into space, and we assume that she finds a cure for what's ailing him and everything. But the fact that the opening has a scene with Lilandra and Professor Xavier, you know, they're not putting it in there just because, oh, this was a scene that happened at some point. You're reanimating an entire scene for a reason, right? So, because remember, they've reanimated everything. Nothing in this show was reused. Everything has been something that they've reanimated. So you're not going to
And we love them for it.
Right. You're not going to reanimate an entire scene just because it's like, well, nostalgia. Remember Professor X? No, Professor X is still alive. He's in space with the Shi'ar Empire, and we're going to see more of him. So, again, quick thoughts on that.
I will say, I think because we saw, you know, with Dark Phoenix, we saw the Shi'ar Empire. I think when we had all the earthquakes and stuff that was happening during the last episode of season 4, with all the psychics being put into the beyond time, essentially, and that we have flashbacks to Phoenix, Shi'ar Empire is a big part of that. So I think that was purposely put in there to hint at a resurgence of the Dark Phoenix, because we have that bait between Madeline Pryor and Jean Grey, who was the Phoenix. Or I had the Phoenix power, and the MCon crystal is a big part of it.
Yeah.
To do it. So that's why I think it's there.
That was also a big piece of the entire kind of episode. The struggle between the two versions of Jean, where, like, you know, I was the Phoenix. No, I was the Phoenix, or like, you know, all these things, or I had the power. So I mean, you know, like there's gonna be some type of reference going on there. I don't know if I kind of like the idea of the showrunner making it an ambiguous thing and not fully explaining, you know, when it happened, but we may end up getting an explanation of that within the cartoon. You know what I mean?
Well, remember the title episode was Fire Made Flesh. What's not the fire other than the Phoenix made flesh?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's well, yeah.
Dragons.
Dragons. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things.
Fin Fang Foom, everybody.
We're gonna get a Fin Fang Foom. It's happening. Does anybody else have any thoughts on the Shi'ar Empire or any of that showing up in X-Men?
Brood. The Brood.
The Brood was my number one prediction before the show premiered. So I was hoping we get the Brood at some point. But so then the last major thing that you notice in the in the opening is a big battle between the X-Men and Magneto. So I mean, the prediction being that, does Magneto go bad again, or is this just kind of showing that there was a struggle before he turned a new leaf, kind of thing? Fourzze, give me your thoughts. I see you getting excited here.
No, I'm pointing at you because that's what it is. That particular scene that they showed was at the nuclear facility, the military nuclear plant, where Storm had to absorb Cerebra's knowledge of the missile and of the missiles and the warheads. And God bless Fox, man. That was one of the most dangerous, and people don't understand this. That was one of the most dangerous episodes of X-Men because Magneto was trying to launch nuclear warheads.
Yeah.
And that's a major thing. And people are like, oh, that was the one where Storm brought the missile to the water. Oh, it's so cool. No, that's very dangerous. Yeah. And that was, and you know, that again serves as a reminder of kind of both parties at their best. You know, you saw Storm with the long hair and the Magneto with the shield, and kind of everybody was kind of at the top of their game in that confrontation. And yeah, it's a reminder that yes, there was a Xavier versus Magneto struggle, but again, we get into the episode where everybody's kind of up in arms over Sinister, and who walks in the room and takes charge? Magneto. He walks in, he's like, we need a course of action. Wolverine, you and you are just gonna stay, you all come with me. And it bing bang boom, it was done. And I am gonna give Magneto all the props for that, because he was able to recognize that Scott was completely off his game because holy shit, I have 2 wives.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and
and
you
a
know
and a
what?
and a baby with the wrong one.
Yeah.
So, yes, props to Magneto since episode 1
Mhm.
for coming in clutch. Magneto is a bigger badass now than he ever was.
Yeah. I gotta give props to the animation team on this episode. The fight initially between Eric and Madeline was fucking nuts. The
Yeah. Oh yeah.
just
Yeah.
her just straight up going, you're the master of magnetism, but more but I can do more than just your cheap magnetic tricks, and just starts pelting him with glass while he's stopping the metal. Like, oh my god. And then she puts him on the ground and just starts wrecking him. Like, holy shit. And he was already doing a pretty crazy job, but like the animation in a lot of those scenes, where she throws a whole bunch of metal at him and he stops it right before it hits his face, but the way everything's moving is just like, oh my god, the animation on this is just top notch.
Even if the designs are a little flatter than the original, you can't deny the the team's ability to manipulate the environment. The glass, I mean, you can tell it's all CG. This
Mhm.
is not hand-drawn stuff. It's all CG, but it's so beautifully done that it doesn't take away from the rest of the beauty going on the screen. And I agree with Magnus and Madeline just having it out like, oh, you can move metal, I can move everything else. And geez, Magneto still holds his own.
Yeah.
He's a freaking boss within a boss.
Yeah, he's a monster, man.
They just like trying to get him shirtless with that hair.
I mean, they basically damn near had it. He's
This
turning into
graveyard's just
Fabio.
like, I can't believe you just said that.
He is the Fabio of X-Men right now. Just
He is,
long,
he's the
luscious locks, and
Fabio.
super ripped.
Exactly.
I think
Mr. Beerster.
when Xavier inevitably comes back, that he is going to try to maintain that stance, and there's going to be something that happens that he turns and goes, I tried it your way. It did not work. Let's do it my way.
Right.
Yep. I like how they're setting everything up, just like these first 3 episodes. They have so much that they could go for a solid 5 more seasons.
Yeah.
Like they're planting so many seeds that it's like you could do so much. There's so much like storyline, like so many storylines, so much story to go through that you could like. There's so much still that they can go through. So yeah, it could be 5 more seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into the fun elephant that's in the room right now. My boy Morph.
Yeah, I'm like, there's
More.
Yeah, I'm gonna let's talk about Morph.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Morph. All right, because and I'm gonna call some people out here. Like the entire world who keeps wanting to remind the rest of us that, oh, Cyclops used to be a bitch, but he's cool now. Yeah, let me reiterate.
I feel
Yep, let me finish.
and seen by that, by the way.
Let me just remind everybody that number 1, Cyclops was never a bitch, and number 2, Morph didn't have any moves until he went evil, and now that he's back on the team, he's got all the moves. This dude is Peter Pan. He can fly, he can fight, and he can crow. He is ridiculous. This
And he
dude
can
can
create swords out of thin air.
and if you want to put comic book logic to this, and not the writers and animators, okay, let's just change them into this so we can impress people watching this. Like, if you want to put real X-Men logic to this, Morph has had a year in the danger room with everything the X-Men have ever either encountered or teamed up with, and has had the ability to change into and adapt to all of their body parts, wings, claws. It doesn't matter what it is. This dude can make katanas out of air. Morph,
He did it again in this episode. So, okay, big,
Morph,
huge thing. We get Spiral, right? And it's like every character, every comic book character that you wish would have been in the show. You know,
there he is.
Explain it. That's the whole thing. You can't explain why we're gonna put fucking magic in this episode, or we're gonna put fucking Spiral in this episode. You know, we're just gonna have Morph turn into them, right? Like Lady Deathstrike in the last episode. You know, you know, just him turning these turning into these characters, and just giving you, for lack of any other way of saying it, fan service.
Oh yeah,
Easiest way to get fan service is with Morph, because Morph can turn into anybody, right? And then again, apparently he can take his ass bone out and make a sword out of it, because he turned magic. He all of a sudden has a sword with magic that he can use, right? Same thing where when he's when his mind is invaded and he realized, right before he realizes that Sinister's fucking with him, you know, claws out of the hand, because he's over here trying to, hey Logan, what's up? What's going on, Logan? You good? And then realize it's Sinister, and PTSD hits him immediately. Right? He realizes what's going on and just freaks the fuck out. But it's like, when he does, and everybody's like got him, and it's just like, I've got your back, he turns into the TAS version of Morph. Right? The version of Morph from the animated series, right? And it's, dude, like, we're getting so much of what we want, because like it may have just already had been that they knew that people were going to complain that, you know, oh, people are going to think that he's non-binary, whatever, all that kind of stuff. We're just showing you that this is, you know, he was this person at one time, but we're making him the comic book accurate version, given that he was a character that was created for the cartoon and became a part of the comics, you know, and that's what he ended up becoming when he was in the comics. So it's like, yeah, I think that they were just doing fan service, but also knew, you know, people are going to complain about us doing this. People who don't understand the character, don't understand that he's in the comics now, and this is what he looks like in the comics. What Fourzze explained last week, right? So, you know,
Apocalypse.
Yeah, I think what they did with Morph and what they're doing with Morph, is absolutely genius.
So I don't want to derail us too much, but I want everybody's quick opinion. If we're seeing what Morph can do now, what do you think we will see Mystique be able to do in these new episodes?
Oh God. Once Mystique comes in, I think she's gonna be like Overdrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Mystique is that better of a martial artist than he is too. So it's like,
but Morph's shape-shifting powers are clearly different from Mystique. Mystique can become other people. Morph can become animals and fish and literally any damn thing he wants to be.
Right.
Yeah, he's more of a mimic, where she just transforms into other people. So yeah, he can be like other things. So I definitely, I would like to see them fight.
Like, Morph became a freaking rhinoceros. Wow. So
if they have Mystique and Morph fight in the series at some point, at least in this iteration of it, that is going to be the most epic fight in all of the series, because they are going to turn into every character you love.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I like that. At first it was a little off-putting, I have to say, but like I really am liking it. I'm just kind of like, okay, who are we gonna spotlight this week? You know, what's
It's
gonna
almost like who's Morph going to turn into this week?
yeah, yeah.
I am seriously waiting for somebody to drop Morph from a very high altitude, have him change into Blob, and just land on someone.
I mean, he
Well, I
already
mean-
did turn into Blob when they did the
Boost me.
that move that they did has an actual name though.
Oh, does it?
But it applies with
yeah, I can't
Colossus.
remember. Yeah. Oh,
Well,
are you talking about the fastball? Fastball
The
special?
fastball special.
Fastball special. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was saying that while husband and I were watching. I was like, they're doing the fastball special with everyone except freaking Colossus.
Yeah, I know, right? But he also says it though. He goes fastball special, and he like throws him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just like, man.
But well, I think the main difference that we get with Mystique in the animated series is that she uses her shape-shifting abilities for espionage and spying and camouflage, not for fun, because she's a trained martial artist. She's a weapons expert, hand in hand. So I think if she was able to replicate and mimic the powers as well, she's still going to win because she has better fighting experience than Morph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just like to see them fight together and like him have to kind of make her transform into other things. You know, and like I would like to see that. That would be interesting to me. It would be really confusing, but I just really would be interested in that.
Right.
Next.
So I was gonna say the last thing I'm gonna kind of just go over on this before we start getting into ratings and whatnot is so two major comic book covers that we get in this episode.
Oh my God.
As comic book fans, you know, like it's again, I'm talking about the fan service that's going on in this, right? But like it's not just fan service because they play a role, they play a part in what's going on, and it makes sense. So we get the cover from Child of Light and Darkness.
X-Men 30. We get X-Men 30. Oh my God.
Yeah. So
I
it's
still
like
have it.
it's Cyclops holding Jean's prone body as the Phoenix, and this is like in Madeline's head. So we have that one right there, and then I know the other one is something that that Fourzze had to have just giddied the fuck up when he saw it, right? I think he just mentioned it right now, X-Men 30, right? So
X-Men
it's
number 30, the wedding of Scott and Jean.
The wedding of Scott and Jean, right? And they had, and it is a direct remake of that cover. The wedding photo that they have is literally the same exact. It's like ripped off of that cover.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, it's the amount of fan service that we're getting in this as comic book fans, right? Like it's they found a way to make it something new while at the same time satisfying the comic fans.
Yeah, like I agree. I agree with all of this. I've been very impressed so far. Very impressed with the series.
So there is an Easter egg that somehow I seem to see that I haven't seen mentioned again. Okay,
so, dude, you've got a really good eye. We all know that. Gosh.
Well, the horror mansion, right?
Yeah.
They Scooby-Doo the bats between changing the scenes.
They did. They totally did. I was like,
that's 100%
purpose.
Did it twice, where they Scooby-Doo bats across the screen to do as a screen wipe.
We also got the
borrow from the best, baby.
We also got the famous hallway shot with the multiple doors where typically Fred and the gang will run from door to door. They didn't do it, but we got the hallway shot.
The infinite hallway.
So, but I mean that's something that people don't seem to be talking about either. This episode in particular is the Scooby-Doo. Because it was of who's underneath this mask, is who's underneath this voice, who is doing all this stuff. We Scooby-Dooed and found out it was Mr. Sinister all along.
Yeah. It was Sinister all along.
Sinister's the new
before we get to the rating, we really need to discuss that good 15 minutes of the episode. Um, and was it, maybe it was 15 minutes? It seemed like 15 minutes. That whole trip into Dante's Inferno
Oh
that
yeah.
Beast wanted to mention.
Yeah.
I I can't. I don't know if I want to use the word impressed or surprised, but we, oh baby, we have departed from Disney's acceptance. I'm very surprised that Disney has allowed Marvel to get away with this episode for many reasons.
There's a lot that goes on. I mean, like the
Um,
land scene.
the just the Attack on Titan image in the elevator, when that elevator opens up and you see that Titan face and it goes all like horror anime on you.
Yeah.
It's all
That if I were 7 or 10 or whatever, I wouldn't be able to sleep after seeing that.
That's the beast moment I'm
Um,
talking about, where the elevator opens and he goes, "I believe we're on the wrong floor."
okay, there are not to Husbeard, because nothing hurts this dude, but there were literal disturbing images from the moment the curtain was torn back on that whole little universe to the very end of it, like to the
Yeah.
end of Goblin Queen getting her senses back. Like we have departed from kids show. Like I know Frey said earlier it's supposed to be a kids show. This episode has gone so far from kids show. Like, kids should not be watching this. Not to mention the fact that we had a literal, like, I don't even know what to call it, but when little Nathan came out of that vagina of light, um,
Yes. And you just see the umbilical
I'm like,
cord and everything.
did that just happen? Let me rewind. Yep,
Yeah.
that's a light vag
you
in the
don't
sky.
you don't remember how they like put in secret penises in the original?
Yeah, I know,
There
right?
were secret penises everywhere in the original series.
And that
Every
is
freaking where. So
and that
you
is the
know we
clip for
get
the
one
episode there.
light badge. I'm okay with that.
No,
Badge
no,
up, people. Badge up.
again, I mentioned this last week. This is something that I put out there last week, that this show is not for kids and trying
No.
to get a new audience. This show is for us. This show is for the kids that grew up in the 90s
Yes.
watching this show, who now grew up, and that it's very much, this show is very much built for us. It's got the nostalgia factor to it, but it has a much more mature theme, much more mature just kind of topics that it's taking down. And they're more out there about it. You know, they're it's like the original show did talk about civil rights and did talk about some of the things that are there, but they're going more into, you know, more into civil rights and more into kind of like the way that things are versus the idealism of things. And it's just kind of, it's more geared towards us than it is for kids. They know
Right.
that
And
we're the target audience. They know that we're the ones that are watching it. It's not kids going, "I want to watch X-Men," because they wouldn't have been like, "X-Men 97, it's coming back. We're doing another season based on the show from the 90s." Most of those kids, we will try and teach our kids to watch the right shows, but for the majority of everything that's out there, they're watching it because we're watching it. So they know that the audience is us, not the kids.
from go, every situation that the team, even the villains, have faced have all been adult situations. These are
Yeah.
this is not something that somebody age 13 and below needs to be getting into. I'm sorry, these are not situations you're ready to grasp, because again, it goes back to who was this intended for? It was
Right.
intended for those of us who were born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, but it was also meant for comic book readers of the late 60s and 70s,
Absolutely.
because that's where
And
these
those of us
stories
that
are,
are immortal.
and that's where these stories are coming from. And that's why I made the point in the private chat earlier. It's like there's so many stories that we are being kind of tiptoed around, but they're not bringing them to fruition. They're not finishing them. We have Madeline saying, here's my Inferno, but we're not going through Inferno. We're going through 26 minutes of here's what's going on with a clone, and Nathan is going to the future and he's infected. All right, great episode, everyone. See you next time. So that's how they've been handling it.
Right.
I want to say one quick thing, and then let's go to ratings, because I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, I have one thing to say after you. So,
well, you say it first, because sometimes I can go on.
Okay, so in my imagination, I'm not an anime fan in the slightest, right? So the Inferno to me was 100% inside the Ghostbusters containment unit.
Especially after watching Ghostbusters this weekend, right?
But I'm saying from the Ghostbusters cartoon, because they had demons and ghosts, and they had Sandman that was very demonic, and that was very layers of hell from when they went inside the containment unit to save Slimer. So to me, that was a callback to Ghostbusters. The animated
I
series.
just love that you've referenced Scooby and Ghostbusters.
And yes.
I
to the second
think we
point,
need another one.
To the
Spider-Man
point,
and Friends.
To the second point, Madeline goes, essentially, you made me bleed my own blood. And we had blood on the X-Men animated series.
Yes. That is another big deal, is that she literally had blood coming out of her mouth.
And who was it who clipped her? Who got her ass?
And then apologized. It was like, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
But that's my little rant on what the imagery was to me, as also the child of the 80s. It just reminded me of Ghostbusters. That's all.
Right. Frey, what are your thoughts before we jump into the ratings?
All right. So when in the 90s, when this was happening, I'm pretty sure Inferno was going on, or had just gone on, something like that. It was coming up, things like that. We as youngsters, we as the younger generation back then, we were reading all that stuff anyway. Fox, you put kids in something and you have really strict standards. Now that it's on Disney Plus, it's a streaming service, you have to pay for it. They can do these more adult themed episodes, which I love. I think it's great because we grew up with those. When I was a teenager, I was reading those stories. And I also think that saying that it's not for kids, or not for not young kids, and I would say 13 and above, I would say that, because before that, they're not going to get a lot of it. So I do understand that. I just think that we also need to give the kids credit. If it's something that, if they love comics and they've already read about this, then we definitely, then yeah, they should watch it. But yeah, I mean, some kids aren't going to be ready for it, and that's fine. I'm just saying that the kids today, they have the 24-hour YouTube. They have everything. It's 24-hour news. It's 20. So, and the world is in front of them. So I think that they can handle a lot more than we probably could back then. But I also think that we do need to be a little bit more stringent when we're talking about that, watching stuff ourselves. If our children want to watch something, let's watch it with them and decide, hey, I don't think this is it. Or watch it before them and say, okay, look, I think it'll be okay for you. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And also, Cyclops, I may have said he was a little bitch, because he was a little bitch, but they've done a lot in this series to rehabilitate his little bitchiness. So I'm going to say he's semi, kind of, sort of coolish now.
Yeah, he's they rehabbed his bitch image.
Yeah.
Cyclops was always cool, and you'll never convince me otherwise. You'll either follow orders like the other members of this team, or you're out of it.
I would say now I'm gonna I'll promote him. He's not a little bitch. He's milk toast.
To be fair, if we're talking about you being Cyclops and being a part of the team, remember, your team is a fucking boy band. And all of you fuckers can kiss my ass. I don't want to be a part of it.
Justin Timberlake should play Cyclops.
Okay,
Okay,
just throwing that out there.
I'm done.
Okay,
I'm done.
throwing it out there. Fuck your team.
Aw.
So says Captain Deadpool.
So you know what's funny is because immediately it's like, if you want to be a part of this team, I didn't want to be a part of your team anyways. Why the fuck am I here?
Like, I never said that.
That's basically like Wade's reaction the entire time, even though he's like closely related to X-Men, more X-Force. But I mean, like, you know, he immediately, if he was working with the X-Men and Cyclops said something like that, but I'm not a part of your team. Kiss my ass.
I feel like we need to have like a Cyclops like tally, like how many times we say Cyclops is a little bitch, and then also how many times does Phil bring up Deadpool in an episode that Deadpool's not even in?
If you were to take a shot, it would be you'd be wasted.
No, I'm just saying like we should do that, like have a tally, like a film and just Deadpool. Ding.
It's like
Just
it's like a Krillin gets owned tally.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Speaking of tallies, what are we rating this thing? Ooh,
yes, I was on there next. I know.
That was smooth.
Very smoother than a baby's asshole. Mr. Beardister. What is your rating here, sir?
I will give this 10 abandoned Summers children out of
I think it is 10 now, right? They have abandoned 10, right?
Wait. It's generational because because fucking Corsair abandoned his 3 children.
So that's 3.
Right? And then
and
abandoned Nate. So it's like
Nate. And then there's also there's a couple of variants. So that gets us to 6.
But
then you've got Rachel.
That's right. Rachel.
That's 7.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Rachel.
Hold on. I'll do you one better. What was the time machine called? Do you remember? The time machine that was named after the avenue that the mansion was on?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, anyway, Cable abandons Tyler to get that time machine.
Yep.
Yes. 8.
Yeah. So
do they abandon Hope at all? Ever? Like, that's funny. Abandon Hope. Abandon Hope Summers. Do they ever abandon Hope Summers?
I'm sure. I mean, technically, Cable did abandon Hope to go back in time to save her.
There we go. So that's 9.
That is the legacy of the Summers families. We abandon children.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay. We're so sorry.
Out of 10
baby Bacta tanks.
Yes,
he wasn't
He wasn't a back to tank. Okay. Fourzze, what is your rating, sir?
I am gonna give the episode 10 Madeline lips getting clipped by optic blasts out of 10 light vaginas.
Yeah.
First of all, you saying light vaginas, we should have had a tally for that too. How many times will Fourzze say
would
light
never
vagina?
expect that tally.
The
no
internet,
one expects the light vagina.
The internet completely fucking loves us right now. This is great. Ray, what is your rating?
Hold on, I'm getting a little sweaty. My rating. Okay, let's do this thing, y'all. My rating is, I'm going to give this, you guys are going to get mad at me. I'm going to give this 9 red ruby pendants of the Goblin Queen out of 10. Why is Wolverine in freaking underwear in the opening credits?
Oh, somebody said it.
Because I'm like, okay, look, I understand he's like an animal and you don't want to show off the schlong, especially with a light vagina. But put some clothes on the man.
No, okay. Logan like one of his signatures from the original cartoon is Logan walking around in tidy whities. So we're just gonna leave it at that.
I'm just saying.
You want Magneto shirtless with the flowing locks, but Wolverine in Speedos. No, we can't have that.
I never said I wanted it. I just said it happened.
You wanted it.
Oh God.
I just want to like do this to his locks. I just want to be like, oh, animated locks. How lovely.
Next rating, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna give
How flipped are you, young Phil?
I'm gonna give this 10 characters that Morph turns into out of 10 wrong floors that Beast made it to.
I will have to say that scene, like the Beast scene with that, I actually felt that was more like Spirited Away.
Okay.
Then
yes.
Yeah, because like there's those big things in Spirited Away, and it's like, whoops, wrong floor. Like they even say it.
I'm telling you, if this episode had a title, like this would be Examining 97, Episode 2, Demons, Goblins, and Light Vaginas.
When demons are coming out of your light vaginas, who you need to call?
The Light Busters. So here's the thing. So fire made flesh.
Yeah.
Light vagina. That's
You're
the fire made flesh.
You're not wrong. Okay. So quick predictions for what you guys think are going to happen in the next episode. The next episode is going to be Life Death Part 1. Life Death
Motendo.
And that's right. And Motendo. Life Death Part 1. Now at the very end of the episode, we do get Storm and Forge having a conversation, and Forge immediately saying, I want to help you get back to where you were. So they essentially explained away the Life Death storyline. But we're gonna, given that what they do with this show so far is they like mash up different storylines and have them all going at once. I think Life Death is going to start happening on one part of the storyline, but then I know you guys already tried to guess what Motendo is, but what do you guys think is going to happen in the next episode?
Oh, I think that Longshot is going to get a video game based off of him in Mojo's world.
Ooh. Okay. Force.
I think we're going to have a back and forth, much like a couple other, a lot like season 2 of X-Men, where we would have a story, and then we'd have a clip of Xavier and Magneto. We'd have a story, and then we'd have the end clip of Xavier and Magneto. The Forge Storm thing is basically going to be the Xavier Magneto rediscovering of who Storm is, why Storm is, and then finding her powers, and then ultimately finding herself. And we're going Life Death is going to be one of those things I mentioned that's going to run long term in this season. Yeah. Storm's reemergence is going to be a long theme in this season. I am 100% with the Husbeard. We are going to get next level Mojo. We're going to, we did the television, we did the entertainment, we did the violence and destruction and not forms of entertainment. Thanks, Storm. This is next level. Now we're going fully digital. We're going video games. We're going, and it really sucks because the internet already spoiled it. But apparently, we're going to get 16-bit scenes.
Oh God,
that's cool.
That's so dope.
Thanks for spoiling that for all of us because I didn't know anything about that.
No. Disney was the ones who spoiled it. It was in their preview segment. Like they mentioned using 16-bit scenes.
So I was right. It's going to be a Super Nintendo game.
I hope it is.
I know.
They're finally listening to you.
But so that's my prediction. We're gonna have Motendo. We're gonna have the 16-bit, but we're gonna have the first of 2 long storylines that's gonna be in this season. One being Storm, the other being civil rights, Sentinels, mutants versus humans. That whole, I don't even know what to call it. The Gyrick saga, if you want to call it that. That
Yeah, I
douchebag.
mean they did at the very beginning. They did mention Gyrick, and I mean, you know, again, they usually don't bring it up unless it's going to be something that's going to come up again. So, Frey, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen next in this next episode?
All right. Forge and Storm are gonna have sexy time.
Okay,
And Mojo, yeah, it's gonna be games. Obviously, it's gonna be 6-bit. It's gonna be Mojo babies. That's right. I said it. Mojo babies. We're getting X babies, baby. Which
Okay.
means we're gonna get Betsy Braddock, but not like Asian Betsy Braddock. We're gonna get British Betsy Braddock as an X baby.
Okay.
That's actually a pie in the sky kind of thing for me with the Betsy Braddock thing, because I just really like her in that costume, and she was really cute as like an ex baby in that. But yeah, it was before Revenge. Okay, so they've already moved past that.
All right. Well, guys, that is it for this episode. I appreciate everybody coming on today. Again, Mr. Bearderster, Fourzze Summers, and Frey Pryor. Thank you guys for your time today. We will catch everybody next week on the next riveting episode of X-Amining 97. We'll see you guys later.
Be there, bub.
Bye-bye.
Or I'll cut ya.
Thank you.